Hey, I'm Elsa Åkesson, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host Savia Rocks, and today I'm humbled to have Elsa here, who is an artist. Elsa, welcome to the Us People podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Had a long day, but it's even better now that I'm here. Thank you so much. So let me get into my first question for you. The first question I always ask people is a little bit about their life and their background. So Elsa, could you tell us a little bit about your background of where you grew up and how that influenced you into art?
Yes, so I grew up in Madagascar, born and raised there. I then went to boarding school in Switzerland. I moved to the UK as well, moved to Spain for university to study business, not art actually. And and that then led me to following my passion, strangely enough.
Well, what made you jump out of, say, for instance, business and then jump into art?
So it all actually started when I was in boarding school at the age of around 16, when my art teacher sort of pushed me to start painting. And at that point, I wasn't very great at painting, but he really pushed me to my limits, and I enjoyed painting the subject matters I was doing at that time, and then after that, I in university I continued painting in my free time, but I wasn't I never thought of it as a career. I just thought of it as a side passion. But I think with time, when you focus on something for a very long time, when you discover a talent and a passion for something that you love, sooner or later that passion speaks louder than your words. And I think that's what happened for me. So I was studying business, but all I really wanted to do was to stay home and paint and create art. And well, sooner or later that feeling and that passion grew stronger every day, and it led me to decide to then focus my entire career on that. Yeah.
I remember you saying to me a little while ago that you had other friends or members. I don't know if you were studying art, but you said that they never went on to carry on doing art.
Yeah, so since I was a little girl, I actually always wanted to be good at art, but I never was.
Oh.
So in high school as a little girl as well, when I was maybe 4, 5, 9, 10 years old, I had my classmates who were so good at art, and even throughout high school, I had classmates that were so good at art, and I really aspired to be that good in art, as good as they were, and no matter how much effort I put in my art, I just for some reason, I never won the art awards, and so a career in the arts when I was young wasn't something I ever thought of, and my classmates who loved art and who were so good at art and who kept on winning these awards and prizes, they actually never pursued a career in the arts, whereas me, someone who was very bad at art, and then who only discovered a passion in art in university, turned out to build a successful and successful career in the arts as an artist, and I grew talent at a late stage in my life. So I think that just shows that you should never lose hope.
Yeah.
If you're not talented at a young age, talent will come with time at a later age, and that's really what happened with me.
See, I love that story. But you're still very young. See, so to me, I still feel like you found your talent at a young age. Or do you feel like people find their talent even younger than you? Is that what you mean? Because when you said to me, you said that you were quite older compared to everybody else who found their talent. But to me, I see you as still very young and with a prosperous future ahead of you.
Yes, a lot of people tell me that I have the talent of someone that's way more mature than my age. So when you look at my art, you would think it's someone that is that's had 20 years experience in the arts, who's painted the paintings I have. I'm 23.
Exactly, yeah.
And I mean, I've developed the talent I have on my own. I'm self-taught. It's just I devote a lot of time to what I do, and I think when you have so much, when you have determination, and when you're motivated to become something, and your passion is so strong, and when you, I mean, if you don't give up, you will. If you, with the determination, you will end up being where you want to be. And my other classmate, I mean, a lot of young people, I think, are not so sure of what they want to do in the future.
Yeah.
I thought I wanted to do business, and I only decided I wanted to do art whilst I was studying business.
How is it dropping out of business and going into art?
So dropping out of business school, I had done 2 years, and so my mother was very supportive. My family was very supportive. I did, however, have a few people who were very close to me who weren't supportive. They told me, well, you've done 2 years already of business. Why don't you just finish? Yes, I had a few friends and a few people who were close to me who didn't support me.
Yeah.
For my decision to change. They said, you've devoted already 2 years to studying business, so why don't you just finish your degree and then do art later on? But again, I knew I had a strong passion. I was good in business school. I was having good grades, but when you feel something is not for you and you feel there is a better fit waiting for you, and when you know that not only you have the passion, but you have the talent, then, I mean, you have the clear signs. So you need to block out any negative commentary. You need to block out any
negativity, I would say is the main one to block out.
Yes, exactly. And just if you, the most important thing is if you believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, then that's the only that is the only confirmation you need. You don't need anyone else's confirmation. You don't need anyone else's confirmation.
What role do you feel artists have in society today?
So artists for me play they play as two roles. They have the role of a communicator. So they use their talent and their passion for art to communicate different types of feelings, emotions, messages, any type of communication they have inside that they want to bring out. So they firstly act as a communicator, and secondly they act as an artist in its simplest form, which is to create something that is aesthetically pleasing to the viewers, visually and internally. And I think that it's important as artists to use our voices that we have, because we do have a voice that not everyone in society has. And I think it's important to use that voice in the right way to spread the right messages. And for example, me in my art, I try to spread positivity throughout my art. I try to spread good energy, happiness, and awareness also.
You do, I think in your art, you also, the colors you use within your art, because I've been very humbled to be able to see your art in its purest of form. And I must say that for me, it resonates with me because of the colors. And I think that is such a beautiful thing. Everyone is different. Everyone has a different way of doing art and painting and the feeling that you put into your art. But for me, the one thing when I looked at your art for the first time, it was the colors. I was like blown away because you use a lot of color.
Yes, and I try to make my art as universal as possible, so that not only people who are literate, literate.
Yeah.
So not only people who are literate can in the arts can understand my art, but also people who don't necessarily understand art can feel something through my art, through the colors, to feel good energy. And I think you can you can transmit good energy to anyone. You don't need to be educated in some form to be able to receive and feel good energy around you.
That's true. That's very true. If you had a superpower, what superpower would you have?
My superpower, I would love to fly. I would love to fly. And recently, it's really random and funny, but to say this, but recently, before coronavirus, I started taking the bus a lot, and but only to sit in a very particular seat. It was the front seat on the top of the bus. And so I sort of grew like a weird passion for sitting in that seat on the bus, and just to people watch. So I would take the bus to get inspiration and to watch people and just to watch London and see the views, and because you're so high up and it's like you're doing a tour of London.
Yeah.
So it's perfect for inspiration, and you can see everything from above. And I think when you're walking on the street, you don't, it's a completely different perspective, and you miss so much out of what's really around you. And so I think if I were to have a superpower, it would definitely be to fly.
If you were to fly to one particular country that you haven't been to, because you travel so much, what country would you travel to, and why would you pick that country to travel to?
So there are a few places I really want to go to for my art. I've seen many photographs and I've heard many beautiful places of northern India.
My hometown.
Oh, yes. And also Japan.
Her hometown.
Well, there you go. And so So yeah, I mean, I like to travel to places that have very different cultures.
Yeah.
That's unique to that country, and I like to go to a country to immerse myself in the culture as well. So I don't really I don't think it's the same to travel to a country as a tourist, because you don't necessarily feel especially as an artist, you don't necessarily feel the real
Is it the real inspiration of the country or the real culture?
the real culture, the real beauty of the country. And so yeah, I like, when I travel somewhere, I like to immerse myself fully, which would mean staying there for a few weeks, and going preferably with someone that's local, because they would take me to, the very local places, and they would teach me about the local cultures. And it's important as an artist as well, because you cannot be traveling as a tourist.
Yeah,
If you're traveling for inspiration, you need to be traveling as an artist, which is really immersing yourself fully in that environment. And so that's why I like to travel to places that are very different culturally.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Do you ever get lonely being an artist?
I think at the beginning it was a bit well, I'm trying to think. Do I get lonely? So at the beginning, it was a bit hard for me to set a routine, because coming from business and completely changing to being an artist, it had a lot of advantages, but also disadvantages, because it's a different world. It's a new world that you need to learn about. And so being an artist can get very lonely, because you are in your own world a lot, because you create in your mind first before creating on the canvas. You imagine your next artwork before you create it. You think of ideas. You're just very much in your own world a lot. A lot of the art, I think, like around 80% of the work is done in the mind before putting it out on a canvas, in a sculpture, in film, so in whatever art form. So you do a lot of thinking. So it is easy to get very lonely. And so I think that is why it's so important and it's crucial to set yourself a very good routine. You wake up at a certain hour every day. You can do some meditation in the morning, emails in the morning, and then in the afternoon you paint, and just set yourself a very good routine. And at a certain hour during the day, you have your meeting. So also setting goals. So I think you should set weekly goals. That's what I do. So I set myself weekly, monthly, yearly goals. And by doing that, I have something to work towards too.
Yeah.
Because being an artist, you just sort of work in your own time, at your own pace. So if you don't set yourself goals for the next week, for the next month, for the next year, you can lose yourself. And that can lead you to become even more lonely and more lost. So yeah, setting routines, setting goals, very, very important for me.
I love that. That's really cool. How does your artwork teach us about the future?
I try to use my art as a voice to families and people I think deserve to be heard, deserve to be seen. So I use it as a voice, and I try to use my art for a good cause. And also I try to think outside the box.
Yeah.
So I try to I'm trying to think how to say this in so I try to think outside of the box in the sense that as an artist you are a creative. So you don't only create artworks, but you should use your creative mind to sell yourself as an artist and to sell your works. And so what I want to teach to the future generation of artists is to help them understand that being a creative is not only creating, but it's also being creative in how you present yourself, how you sell yourself. And for me, for example, I follow this rule that I give myself, which is, for example, I don't only expose in art galleries. So I think very
You think very creatively of how you do things.
Yes, so I think very creatively of how I do things. So which means I exhibit by doing collaborations with different brands.
Oh.
I exhibit my art in auctions. I showcase my art in movies. I showcase my art in I'm trying to think now because I've done so many different exhibitions. I did just collaborations, movies, and just there's just my point is there's so many different ways you can bring your art to the world. Because I think a lot of artists base themselves on galleries only, and I'm speaking about visual artists. That's not selling yourself creatively. Creatively. I think I have a problem with this word. So every time I say that word, I will say "si,"
and then I'll say it,
and then you'll say it.
Cool,
okay. So
that's too funny.
So yes, a lot of artists they base themselves on art galleries when there's so many other ways to sell yourself as an artist, and artists should think
creatively.
There you go. So yeah, I hope that answers the question that what my art tries to teach
for the
future generation is that I just try to think outside of the box, and that's the message I want to transmit, that's the message I want to bring out, and also to use your art for a good cause as well. So I really use it for a good cause, and also I like to donate a lot of the money I make in my art back to people, because I really believe in giving to receive. So it's really important to give in order to receive, and
you do that.
I really believe that, and I try to support artists a lot, and I think it's very easy as well to be selfish. Yeah. When you sell a painting, when you in whatever field you work in. It's very easy to be selfish, especially when you're just starting off. But yes, and I also try to support other artists. So I actually invest a lot of the money I make in my art, I invest in other emerging artists, because I love emerging artists. I think their talent is so fresh. So for example, during Freeze Week here in London, you have all these other satellite fairs, and people collectors and art dealers and everyone from the art world, and just people who are enthusiastic about the arts, they come to London to visit Freeze. And I think a lot of people forget about all these satellite fairs, the smaller fairs. But for me, if during Freeze Week, my favorite fair wouldn't necessarily be Freeze.
Yeah.
My favorite fair would be the smaller fairs where all the emerging artists are, because in Freeze, yes, you have all these amazing artists that are very well established, and you see these humongous sculptures and these amazing paintings worth millions, but the talent of emerging artists is just so new and so fresh, and it gives you a different feel, and I really love that. And so I just try to collect emerging artists' work, and at the same time it helps them.
There's something that I know you're very passionate about. And it's one of there's two things I know you're very passionate about, but we'll go on to both. But the first one is your painting. I don't know if you've called it Elsa, but I would love for you to tell the listeners about your painting, Elsa.
Okay, so I painted this, well, actually it's my most recent painting. It's a very large painting. It's 150 centimeters high by 100 centimeters width. It's a painting of a little girl from a small village from southern Madagascar called Elsa. And she was named after me. My name is Elsa. And just for the listeners who don't know. So my family does help a lot of communities in Madagascar. And so when we went to the south of Madagascar, there is this village, and the father of a little girl, so this little girl called Elsa, he came up to me and he said, well, I named her Elsa after you, for hope, for hope, for a bright future for Elsa. And he told me something very touching. He said, I truly believe that she is my hope of getting us out of poverty, because I named her Elsa after you. And so this painting that I painted of Elsa is actually my most special painting I've ever painted. And I really hope that it's going to find a beautiful home.
Yeah.
And I decided to, of course, give it's a painting to raise funds for Elsa and her whole village, to secure all of them for a bright future. So that's the story behind the painting.
That's a beautiful story. How do you feel when you was painting it? What was your emotions and your spiritual connection to the actual picture itself?
Just so much joy, so much happiness. And when you have such a deep connection to the subject matter you're painting, you paint with even more precision than what you would usually put in to other paintings. So I, for all the listeners listening, I paint figurative art. I'm a figurative painter, and so my paintings are very detailed. And a lot of people think actually they're photographs. So this painting was, I put double the effort than I would usually put in other paintings, which is a lot of effort because I already devote a lot of time to the paintings I paint. Yeah.
How long does it take you to paint one particular painting?
It takes me on average, I would say 4 weeks, but it all depends on how hard my inspiration has hit me for an artwork I'm about to create. So if the inspiration is really, really strong, then I will start the painting and I will want to continue painting until it's finished.
Okay.
So I will start the painting in the morning and paint throughout the day until it's around 3 a.m. and I look at the time and I see that it's 3 a.m. and I'm just too tired and I can't keep my eyes open anymore. So if the inspiration is so strong, that's what will happen, and I will and I wouldn't even want to go to sleep. I would want to just continue painting even though I'm so tired, but I just simply can't because my eyes, I need toothpicks or something.
I know how you feel.
Yeah.
There. What was the first project you ever worked on?
So my first project I ever worked on, my first exhibition I ever did was not a usual gallery exhibition. It was actually a collaboration with a Swedish bedding company called Hestens. So it's a Swedish luxury bedding company. And that happened because so my mother wanted this. She saw a teddy bear they had in the window. And so she wanted me to go in and get her this small teddy bear for her friend who had just had a newborn. Okay. And so I went into the store and I asked them about the teddy bear, and I got along very well with the man who was in that store that day. And so he asked me what I was doing in London, and I told him I'm an artist. And because we got along so well, he said, well, if you're an artist, why don't we do a collaboration? And so it came from that, and I was so excited because it was my first ever exhibition. And so what I did for that collaboration was I used the whole store. It was in their store in South Kensington, and I used their whole store as an exhibition space. I put my art everywhere, and as part of the collaboration, I would come in 2 days a week to live paint in front of the display window, so everyone walking by would see an artist painting. That's in really the nice store, which was unique. Really. You don't see it every day, so I think it was very appreciated.
How did that make you feel doing it live?
I loved it because it was so nice, because it was my first exhibition ever. Oh, cool. And I'm sitting in a store, in a luxury store, painting, and I see everyone passing by, taking photos and taking my card. So I created like these little leaflets, and people would come and they would take a leaflet, and people really loved it. They loved the concept because it was very unusual. And I'm actually the one who came up with live painting in the store. So that goes back to what I was saying before, that as an artist you should think creatively.
Creativity.
No,
creatively. I can't even say it now.
I think it's contagious.
Is it creatively, or is it creatively?
Creatively.
There you go. We got it.
We got it. Yes. And so it was so exciting for me, and yeah, I mean, I felt famous already. It makes you feel, right? It makes you feel, it gives you confidence. It makes you feel that people like your art. It makes you feel appreciated. And I think it was a great way to get my art there for the first time.
Yeah.
And it was just a proof that, I mean, starting with such a unique exhibition. So starting with such a unique exhibition like this, so it's unique because it's not your typical exhibition in an art gallery. It's a collaboration with a brand, and starting with that just made me understand from the start that there's so many other ways of showing your art and becoming famous. You can be your own art dealer in a way as an artist. And so instead of contacting only galleries, I now contact hotels. I contact different types of industries. So my art is coming out in a movie very soon, because, well, I have my neighbor, my friend who's a film producer, but I think also it's important to be very sociable.
Yes, I agree.
And that's what's really helped me get everywhere. So a lot of people will say, oh, if you want to work in music, in the arts industry, so if you want to work in music, if you want to work in the film industry, if you want to be an artist, oh, well, you're only going to make it if you have connections. You're only going to make it if you know people. When in reality, you are the one who creates the connections. So it's not true when people say you need the connections to get into it. That it's just, I think it's an illusion that's been created, and everyone believes it. So no one really tries to get out of their comfort zone to take the risk to be a musician, to be an artist, to be someone creative.
Yeah.
And so being sociable is really the key of becoming successful in this type of industry. So even if I sit in a cafe, I will make friends with the person sitting right next to me.
Yeah.
Going into that store that day, I was friendly. And so that's how I got my exhibition. So you have to learn to get along with people, to be kind, to just be sociable and give out good energy. And when you do that, you will start receiving. So it goes back to what I was saying before, that when you give, you receive.
Yes, you do. You totally do. That's how we met.
Yes.
That's how we met. So I love that. So I know that there's a particular artist that you love their paintings. I would love for you to express the paintings that you love and what the painter does and why you love their paintings.
So there are several artists that I really appreciate, and I would love to one day have one of their sculptures or paintings in my house. I mean, not yet, because they're I'm not as famous as that yet to be able to afford the painting. But
you're famous enough, believe me.
Thank you. But anyways, these artists, for example, one of them is Kim Chang-yewu. I hope that's how I pronounce the name properly. He's a Korean artist, and he only paints rain droplets. And the reason why he only paints rain droplets is because he comes actually from North Korea, And during the war, he walked all the way from North Korea to South Korea. And the only thing he remembers was the stormy weathers and the dark skies. And he paints out of trauma as a remedy, I would say, as a therapy. It's therapeutic in a way for him. And so from his trauma, that is the reason why he can only paint droplets today until this day. And it's become so precise now, and his artworks are just so amazing. And I did discover him in Freeze. Yeah, I discovered him in Freeze, and I was standing in front of that painting thinking, wow, I hope one day I will own one of his artworks. I mean, it's just impressive. And so I appreciate artists who have strong meaning and strong stories behind their works. Also, another artist I really love is Annie Morris. She's a British sculptor, and she stacks up these sphere balls, ball shapes, one on top of each other, and she paints them in very bright matte colors. It's absolutely gorgeous. And if you're a viewer, you wouldn't really know what it represents, but if you know her story, it's actually because she had a miscarriage, and so ever since that she sort of creates this as a therapy to the trauma she's lived. So again, it's just, I appreciate a lot of artists that create art that has meaning like this. Yes.
One thing I've noticed with a lot of things that you've said, it seems to me that art is a form of therapy to help people heal. Do you think that's true?
Yes, and actually now there's this new trend of art therapy.
Oh, I didn't even know that. I just said it. I see.
Yes, so there are art therapists. You can even do a master's in art therapy now. So it's actually becoming a real trend, and I think it's because they've discovered this over the years, that art is a therapy, and even artists use it as a therapy. So not only individuals, so not only
her voice is going, guys.
So not only individuals buy color books for therapeutic reasons, but even artists themselves, they use art as a therapy to trauma that they've lived. So art is definitely a therapy, yes. And I think even for me, it's therapeutic. I think for everyone, it's therapeutic. Any type of passion is therapeutic, I think.
Yeah, most definitely. I have a really random question for you.
Okay.
Right? And I'm going to make sure I read it properly. If I could ask you to close your eyes and describe one of your most favorite artworks from memory, why did you remember what you remembered from the picture? And why did you forget what you forgot about the picture? So if I asked you to close your eyes for a second.
Okay.
So this is like therapy, okay?
Yeah.
So she's closing her eyes, guys.
This is a therapy session.
This is a therapy session. So she's closing her eyes.
Yes.
And you are going to describe one of your most favorite paintings. Go for it.
Well, I'm a bit lost now, because actually I love so many artworks. So it's just, let me think which one is my favorite.
Which one pops into your head first?
I've had around 4 pop up
Whoa.
at the same time. 4 different paintings have just popped up in my head. So I'm just trying to pick now which one of the 4.
Okay.
Also, I'm thinking because So obviously one of the four is my painting. Is my painting. So I'm just thinking if I should give the chance to another artist or if I should pick mine.
Okay. Let's go with your one. Let's go with yours, okay?
Let's go with mine.
So out of the four, we've picked your one.
Yes.
Describe that painting.
Okay. So this painting is it's actually, so this one is one of, so my eyes are still closed.
Yeah, they are. They're still closed.
So it's actually one of my latest paintings that I created. But my favorite, can I change the artwork?
You can change
so
it.
Mine, so I'm picking another one of mine now.
She's got so many. She's just going
I
through
have so many.
She's going through a catalogue in her head.
I mean, the problem with me is I love art so much, and so I can't pick just one. Okay, so my favorite one that I've ever painted, I know which one it is. It's also my mother's favorite painting because she says it's incredible. She says it looks like a photograph, and I put 2 months work in that one actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a painting of how many kids were in that painting? 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 faces. I paint in so much detail. So that painting took me ages. It's a painting I donated for a charity auction in Switzerland. The funds went to the funds went to the cause they were supporting that evening. And it is a painting of 4 little kids from Madagascar. It's just so well painted. I really do believe it is really photographic, that painting, and I love it so much because the eyes of the kids in that painting just came out so well. They're so shiny, and you can really, it makes you feel their energy. It makes you feel their purity and their innocence. And so that is why that is my favorite painting. Also because I mean there are 4 faces in that painting it took me so long. And painting one figure painting one figure demands so much time and effort that painting 4 figures is just it's another level.
Being able to do that in
being
detail.
able to do that in detail. And I think a lot of people as well, my mom, my close friends, they all thought it was a photograph that I stuck on the canvas. So yeah, that was my favorite painting I've ever painted. But it has a tie with another painting that I painted of a little girl from Madagascar. And it was just so beautiful, that painting. I loved it. I mean, I can't really describe in words why they're my favorite paintings. It's difficult for me to explain because I think it's the connection inside.
Yeah.
That I have. It's a feeling inside that you have when you see something and you love it. It's something that can't be described in words, really. So it's difficult to describe why it is my favorite. But yeah, I mean it's the same feeling as if you see, as if anyone sees an artwork and just absolutely falls in love with it. It's that feeling.
That's true.
And yeah, so that that's my paintings. So now I'm gonna tell you my favorite painting that's not my painting. So one of my favorite paintings, so as I was saying, Annie Morris, her sculptures, I just absolutely love her sculptures. I'd love to have one of her sculptures. Hopefully in a few years I'll buy one. But as for now, there's just so many artists I love. There's really so many artists I love.
I think because you're so passionate about what you do, I think you find the beauty within a lot of people when it comes to art, and it's really hard for you to choose just one.
Yes, that's even for me. I mean, I don't love my paintings more than other people's paintings. I really don't. I love them all equally. So it's so difficult for me to say, like, what is your one favorite artwork? There's no one favorite artwork. For me, it's as if I were asked, like, okay, imagine I had 15 kids and who's your favorite child? Like, I don't
okay, I get
so
it.
I don't have a favorite child. I love all my children. So it's the same.
Oh, that's a good way of actually putting it into perspective.
Yeah, it's just so difficult.
I would not be able to choose I always say you should never have a favorite child.
Yes, never.
Because all the rest of the children will feel abandoned.
Yes. And I tried asking my mom several times this.
Favorite child. What did mommy say?
It was a trap, yes. Because I have one brother, so we're two. And I always ask her, who's your favorite child? But no, she never failed the test. So she loves us both equally.
Aww. I can see that actually. No, that makes perfect sense. What is the hardest challenge you have ever had to face being an artist?
That's a very good question. I think the hardest challenge being an artist is facing rejection.
Rejection?
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you're an artist, you have to be ready and prepared for rejection, because you're not going to be accepted in art galleries and you're going to receive a lot of rejection. So firstly, as an artist, I think a lot of artists just sort of sit back, and I mean new artists, right? So they sort of sit back and they're very creative, but they forget sometimes. It's easy to forget, and even for me at the beginning, it was easy to forget that I should be the one that gets out and gives out leaflets and contacts people, and I should be my own manager. So I'm not only my own artist, but I'm also my own manager. And I think that a lot of artists forget that. And being your own manager, well, contacting all these places, asking if they're interested in your art, you will receive a lot of rejection. But out of those 10 rejections, there will be one that loves your art and that believes in you, and that will love to take you in. So I think that you should be open to rejection, and you shouldn't take that
Negativity.
Negatively.
Oh, okay. You corrected me. Hey.
Negatively. So yeah. So I think that was that's a big challenge, I think, for all of us artists, and it's a challenge I took on myself from the very start. It's one that I've learned from the start that I mean, art is so subjective. Not everyone's gonna like what you do.
Yes.
And so you need to know that from the start, being an artist. You need to know that and understand that. You cannot just say that you know that, but then not be able to accept that. You need to be able to accept that. And the sooner you're able to accept that, the sooner you'll be able to grow more as an artist and be successful. Only when you learn to accept rejection will you be able to
be more receptive.
To be more receptive, yes. And so for me, rejection is just, I don't even pay attention to it anymore.
You sound like me.
Yes. It's good. Yeah, I mean, I really don't. I don't pay attention to it anymore. If someone rejects me, actually, it does the opposite. It motivates me.
Yeah.
Because I seek for the next person to accept me.
Yeah.
Much quicker when I receive rejection.
I don't know if it's like a karma where if someone rejects you, it's automatically where somebody else will come and get you. And that would be twice as good.
Yes.
Or better.
Yes. Actually, there is a saying in French that my mother always says, but this doesn't actually have to do with art.
Okay, no, go for it.
So my mother, she tells me, so whenever I break up with my boyfriend, so it has to do with love. So whenever I have a breakup, she always says, don't worry, 1 lost, 10 found.
Say it in French.
10 de perdu. No, wait, you don't lose 10. You lose 1. 1 de perdu, 10 de retrouvé. See? Which means you lose 1 and you're going to find 10. See? So it's the same with art. And it's the same with everything. If you lose in one thing, if you lose once, you practice and then you get better and then you win 10. And it's the same. It's the same in the arts.
Yeah, most definitely. It definitely is. If you had an unlimited amount of money, what do you mean you wish?
Because I'd buy so much art. You have no idea.
I remember this. So
like my dream museum house.
Remember I said I'm coming, okay?
Yes.
Right. I want my room that you put me in to have the biggest painting in. It's like, oh.
You can have 10 paintings in your
that's
house.
Fine.
In your room.
I don't mind. I'm coming for your art. That's fine. So, if you had an unlimited amount of money, meaning that if you had money and no matter how much you spent, you earn 10 times more back, what would you do to change the world within art?
So actually, when I heard the first part of your phrase, the first thing that came to my mind is the dream I've had for a while and that I'd love to do and I will do.
Good, I'm glad you said I will.
I will do is to create. I mean, this is my dream really. It's to create in Madagascar an eco village to help communities that really need it and find jobs for them and educate them and just build a huge village community that will not only help the environment, but most importantly, the main cause, and that's to help the people of Madagascar. So if I had if I was the richest person in the world today, like I would really do that. I would give back to the community. So with art as well, it's the same thing. If I had all the money in the world today, I would help artists. I would also give the opportunity to people and the privilege to people who don't necessarily have the means to be an artist and to give them the chance to possibly discover a passion and a talent in the arts and to help them. I would love to patron, in other words, a lot of artists from Madagascar and from Africa and from developing countries. I would help people who I believe. I would help people of whom is this right English? Of whom I believe their messages. No, that's not right English.
Of whom you believe
they're in their messages deeply. How do I say that correctly? I would help people of whom their messages I believe in deeply. Is that right English? No, that's not.
I understand where you're going with it.
Yeah? I would help people that I believe in their messages. But that's not right English.
You would help people who you believe are telling the truth within themselves and have a vision to do something better for themselves. I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds like it. Because you are very much that type of person who helps people. So you are looking, basically what you're doing is you're feeling their energy and you are feeling their emotions of where they want to be, and you feel also their pain of where they want to be. And because they have such a passion of wanting to do goodness for themselves, you want to be that door that they can walk through and say, I will help you.
Yes, exactly. You've phrased it perfectly. That's really what I would love to do. I mean, I truly, truly believe, I mean, for me, that the satisfaction I get in giving the opportunity to someone that they wouldn't necessarily have otherwise.
Yeah.
It's just the satisfaction is so much greater than if I were selfish and if I would keep that sort of amount of money just for my own self.
You would be quite lonely to have all that money and not want to help people.
Yes, I really believe in it. And I think that's why that causes people to be unhappy. I mean, you're
depression.
Yeah, depression and unhappiness just in general. Yeah, I think helping people is very important.
I know you're very passionate about helping people, so this is a question that I know you will answer very passionately. Okay, so I always ask people, regardless of what profession they're in, to help give advice to people about, for instance, motivating themselves, or because I remember I was having a conversation before about understanding the art business better. I know that you would be a very good person to tell them about the passionate side of business and what to do within the art world and business, because they don't teach you that in university. They teach you how to paint, like you said. They teach you how to be a professional painter. But you have an advantage. I feel like you have an advantage. And the reason why I say this is because you are self-taught. I always believe, like when I, for instance, an example, when I first started playing the piano, okay, I was self-taught. I couldn't afford to have a teacher. Yeah. But doing that made me more creative in how I play. Yeah. So for you, I feel it's the same. Yeah, my legs are hurting too. For you, I feel it's the same. So what advice would you give the listeners who are listening who love art like you do about the business side of art? What would you say to them?
As you said, the problem I see today is that if you're in institutions, when you're doing a bachelor's of fine art, I mean, yes, I know the title says a bachelor's of fine art, so you're there to educate yourself on fine art, but the problem is they don't give you the opportunity to actually learn the business side of art. So you come out having done a bachelor's in fine art, so basically now you're a professional artist, but you don't know how to sell yourself as an artist. You don't know the art market. You're not aware of what really happens in the art world. And I mean, today we are actually very lucky to be living in a world where you have the internet. I mean, honestly, it's such a blessing because you can find all types of information on the internet now. So in reality, I think that all the resources in becoming a successful artist is actually out there now. You just need to be able to use those resources and find them. So you should Google how to become a successful artist. You should Google and buy books or find free books, free information on the art market. And I think you should, before entering any type of market, you should study that market first, especially if you're going to be self-employed and you're entering it on your own. You should be aware of the market you're entering. So make yourself aware by using all the different free information, which is found on museum websites, art website. I mean, anywhere on the internet, YouTube. So all the resources are out there. Also, I am actually very lucky to be living in London. So the UK is actually home to the second biggest art market in the world. The first being the United States. So living in London, in the UK, to all the artists who are living here, you should really use that to your advantage. I mean, you're living in one of the biggest art markets in the world. You're in the middle of that, so you use that to your advantage. There's so many art openings and art events that's happening every single day. But artists don't go to these art events, but they're free, so they really should. And so what I do is I go on, for example, Artsy, and you can find so much free information on there. So you can see they put up all the upcoming art openings. And so I go there and I go on my own. That's a very important thing to remember. I really recommend you to go on your own, because if you take a friend with you, then you're not gonna be willing to communicate and meet new people and new individuals. So I recommend you to go on your own, because then you are forced to meet people. And that will take you out of your comfort box, and that will be the starting point for you to create that network that you need in the art world. And actually the art world is actually smaller than you think. Yes, so if you start going to all the art events regularly, you will start recognizing the faces. And so not only will you start recognizing the faces, but they will start recognizing your face. And that's very important. You want to be seen, and you want to be seen at these big events and these important gallery openings, and you have access to them for free. All you need to do is sign up via email. So yeah, take that to your advantage. Also, there's so many art prizes that you can apply for. You can send in your art to a photograph of your art to win different types of art prizes. Also, you can contact. So as I said, think creative and create
Creatively.
creatively.
There
we go. And so you have to really think creatively off your canvas too. Sell yourself in a creative way. So don't only base your future as an artist on art dealers and art gallerists. You can become famous by contacting magazines, contacting consultancy agencies, contacting restaurants, contacting the list is endless. You can contact so many different places and people and companies asking if they need art, if they want to collaborate with you. The list is just endless of ideas on how you can get your art out there to the world. And so just think creatively.
You got it, girl.
Yes.
My final question for you is, where can we find you on all your social medias?
So I use Instagram. My Instagram is Elsa Loves Paint. Very easy to remember. And I also have a website. It's elsaåkesson.org. But the easiest way to contact me is via my Instagram. And I'd love to receive your messages if you have any questions. If you'd like some advice, you're more than welcome to send me a little message. I'd love to help you out, and I can tell you more about my story if you'd like, on how I've come to this stage today.
Elsa, I want to thank you so much for coming on the Ask People podcast. You have been most probably one of the most humble and kindest guests I've had on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It was such an honor and a pleasure to meet you. And I really hope we get to meet soon
again. See, Elsa's flying away. So we managed to get her to come and do the podcast with us, which is beautiful because she's flying away. Well, by the time you guys listen to this, she's most probably in another beautiful country, but tomorrow she's flying away. Today is Thursday. Today's Thursday. And tomorrow's Friday and she's flying away. So I hope on her travels back, we'll get her to come back and do another podcast. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'll be a professional podcaster by then.
You've done fine. Guys, I want to thank you so much for listening to the Ask People podcast. Please remember you can subscribe to iTunes, Google Play, and any other platform that you prefer to listen to. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also donate to the Ask People podcast via the Savia Rocks website, or simply go into paypal.me/Ask People podcast. Thank you for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and please continue to be kind to one another. Yay!